I feel like I'm going to have a little bit of fun talking about this particular film because this is one of those movies, once again, where I went to Blockbuster and I can't tell you how many times that I've gone out and rented this fucking movie because when I was a kid, there was a lot of imagination going on that I wanted to expand my horizons with different variations and styles of film. This was one of those movies that kind of opened my eyes to, I should say, what is it? The gothic realm of what film can be about, whether it's the animation or presentation, live action or whatever. It kind of opened my mind a little bit because this film went from being live action to animation to live action again. And I like the balance there because most of the film later on, from the beginning, it was live action. Then in the middle, it was animation. Then towards the end, it was a mixture of both of live action and animation. And you know what? According to my little book here, the year was 1996, and it says right here in my notes about this particular movie that I need to change my glasses. I actually had this as my number 10 best movie of 1996. I know that's pretty low, but 1996 had some pretty interesting years, but you know what? I'm not even going to bother diving into it because we're here to talk about James and the Giant fucking Peach, god damn it. So I'm going to put my little book right there. So, James and the Giant Peach, this movie itself, it's like I said, it balanced from both live action to animation, then a mixture of both of live action and animation combined together, and I really like the presentation style. So that right there was one of the biggest things that stood out for this movie. Now, I always thought, even as a young kid, I thought this movie was fucking Tim Burton. But no, I was wrong. It felt like a Tim Burton movie, but not necessarily. Henry Selick was the one who did this movie, and he actually was able to do some other stuff. He did The Nightmare Before Christmas, he did Coraline later on, and Wendell and Wild, which were some very interesting films. So I like that how Tim Burton, with his animation style, and Henry Selick have somewhat same similarities with the presentation, the story, creativity, characters that you can really be interested in, whether they're supporting or they're acting, whether they're good guys, bad guys, baby faces or heels, whatever the case may be. I like the similarities between the two, but for this case, Henry Selick did this movie and he gave us a nice little film. Now, Roald Dahl, this was one of his stories. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, The Twits, Matilda, The Big Fucking Gun, or excuse me, The Big Friendly Giant, Fantastic Mr. Fox, and George's Marvelous Medicine, which I'm sure that he bought it from some gentleman off the fucking streets where he says that's marvelous medicine, but in the end, it's not marvelous at all. It's probably some fucking drugs or whatever it is that are probably bad for you, but you know what? It's always good to take some sort of marvelous medicine to make you feel better. But as for what this giant peach is all about that James ends up crawling into, meeting all these different insects, you have a young boy named James Henry Trotter. He's a simple little boy who has a nice, peaceful family until a rhino in the sky ate his family up, keeping it to fucking kayfabe of what the story is. Well, after that, he lives with his Aunt Sponge and Aunt Spiker. He's trying to get through his day-by-day routine by doing chores, living in a pretty shitty house, feeling a little sick, but you know what? He's trying to make it through. All of a sudden, he ends up meeting a tinker while he was doing his chores. He ends up giving him some sort of little green gimmicks known as crocodile tongues. He said that marvelous things will happen if he keeps a hold of these little tongues, or these little green little thingamabobbers. So while he was doing his chores, a peach comes a long way on one of the dead branches, and it starts to grow and grow and grow until it becomes a fucking giant booty. So they turn this peach, both Aunt Sponge and Aunt Spiker turn this peach into a sideshow circus attraction while they are fucking being con artists themselves, charging a fucking huge ass price for kids and families and adults and photographers alike to fucking go inside and see the peach. They're not allowed to touch, taste, smell, or eat the fucking thing, despite it being a marvelous goddamn fruit, and peach being one of my, if not my favorite fruit of all time, besides mangoes. So So while James was asked to go out into the yard while it was nighttime, while the both fucking SpongeBob and Spiker, alcoholic spiked drink, are counting their fucking money, James goes out with a trash bag and he starts picking up the litter. He goes near where the peach is, grabs himself a handful of the fucking magical fruit, eats a slice with the fucking little green gimmicks jump in there, and, well, his whole world turns upside down, where he sees a hole coming in, he climbs inside the peach, and he becomes friends with a various bunch of insects who have various different personalities. You had Mr. fucking Centipede, the cranky cocaine cocksucker. You also had Mr. Grasshopper, the jumpy bumpy dipshit. You also have Miss Ladybug, the sweetheart bitch. You also had Mr. Worm and his fucking 88 schizophrenic anxiety looking ass. And then you had my favorite character of the film. I am a Rhea Ripley fan. And let's just say Miss Spider's sexy mommy looking ass. I'm just going to put this out there for anybody. You can fucking agree with me and see where I'm coming from on why I think Miss Spider was fucking attractive. You can see where I'm coming from. For someone like me who finds goth chicks appealing, Asian or not, she's fucking hot! Anyways, they end up getting themselves a compass along the way, but the thing is that they had to get a bunch of seagulls to travel to New York City because they were stranded in the middle of the ocean. They got the seagulls. Mr. Centipede and his cocaine, cigar smoking ass, the cocksucker he is the fucking leader of the Peach, and they're sailing their way to New York City. So that right there is the story for, it's going from point A to point B, where they're going to try and help James start a new life in a city that he wants to believe and live up to his parents' not only dreams and realities of what they want, but also the future that they wanted James to live. I like the story. I remember reading the book all those years ago, and I was thinking to myself, this was a good story. But when I saw the movie, I was also saying, like I thought when I was a kid, and now the movie is fantastic. It really is fantastic of a movie. I'm going to go back to it again for the third time. It's the balance between live adaptation to animation to live and animation, both mixed in between. But it was mostly the animation that was going on. It felt like, I think the best way I can describe the animation is that it was kind of like a stop motion type of thing that was going on. Something that, like I said, not trying to make comparisons again like I did, but to what Tim Burton did. The stop motion thing was going on, and I really liked the production and presentation of how all the characters were used. So the movie itself looked really great. I liked the gothic type of style that was going, even though it didn't necessarily come off that way. But with me, I felt that vibe of that gothic realm that was kind of going on because of the dog story that was happening, especially in the beginning of the film. I liked that darkness that was transpiring. So it kind of felt like sorta of a gothic type film for me, even though not really. But just from the presentation, it looked that way, at least in my eyes. But everyone has their own interpretations when they watch a film. For me, I got a little bit of a gothic vibe, at least to a minor degree. All the personalities in this movie, obviously James, he is the hero, and you grow to like him because he's an innocent little boy. You can't help but feel sorry for him because he doesn't deserve the bullshit that happened to him. The poor kid's just trying to make it through. Mr. Centipede, the motherfucker's a wise ass. Mr. Grasshopper's all professional violinist. Miss Ladybug is as polite as can be. Mr. Worm, I already said it, he's a fucking schizophrenic. He's got ADHD. He's got fucking anxiety. He's got all those mental issues going on, the poor son of a bitch. Kind of dark of what he told about his brother. Then you have Miss Spider. Well, I do consider myself to be Mr. Centipede in terms of the cranky personality, and he does get the hot babe in the end. So, lucky me. But Miss Spider herself, I like how she has a connection with James, because in the beginning of the film, he ends up saving Miss Spider's life from a fucking being that one of the ants could have done. And they ended up becoming really good friends. And like I said, James had a very close connection with Miss Spider. And I like that a lot. And throughout the whole entire journey, where they were going from different destinations, where they were up in the sun, or they were under the ocean, or they were caught in fucking midnight sky, I like the balance in different scenery. Like, it was giving you something different. Going inside the Peach itself, of how they were able to turn that into a little home. So, variety of different things help progress the story itself. I can't help but admire that a lot. Now, as for, like I said, the characters, all different personalities, I can't help but love them. James is a proper baby face who you root for. The fucking ants are bitches. You all know how they are. Especially towards the end, when he reaches New York City, has that confrontation, stands up for himself finally, and embarrasses them all. Fantastic. Now, as for the songs for the movie, they obviously had a song about the Peach itself. They also had another track where they were talking about how their family, and the insects do end up becoming James's new family, and they all grow to love this kid, and rightfully so. They have nice little songs, cute little tracks, and I can't help but really just embrace with them. But James and the Giant Peach, it's a wonderful movie. It really is a wonderful movie. It's definitely one of those films that I saw as a childhood that expanded my mind to animation of the different styles of what I was originally accustomed to, which was Disney, like everyone else has grown up with. But when I saw this style, I was really, really invested, because, like I said, it opened my mind to different styles of animations that are out there and that can be very futuristic and can be used for later films down the road, whether it's stop motion or claymation or whatever the case may be. Also having personalities, whether it's going to be a Leica or an Armon or maybe DreamWorks, but between Leica and Armon, kind of like that, where you have varieties of characters where you can have personalities. And I think this is one of those films that was obviously not part of that, but they had themselves that type of vibe where you had personalities you liked. It's a really investing story. Really good personalities. You got your bad guys, you got your good guys. Nice little songs. I like the variety. And overall, James and the Giant Peach, it's a fun little movie. And it was the film that I gave a 4.5 out of 5 to. Marvelous looking film. So, that's going to have to do it with my little review of James and the Giant Peach, everybody. And if you have seen this movie, let me know down below your thoughts about it. And as always, ciao for now.